All right, so 2 men were arrested a couple of weeks back at Starbucks for sitting there and waiting for someone else to come, another one of their friends.
Right.
What is your opinion on that, and do you think that us as black people should boycott establishments like Starbucks when things like this happen? The manager actually called the police, a manager or an employee called the police on them.
Right.
And Starbucks is basically a place where you could go sit down.
Right.
You know, kids go do homework.
Right.
You know, whatever it might be, buy a coffee, maybe not.
Right.
Maybe wait for someone.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, I know I have a good friend, sister that works for Starbucks in Israel. You know, she's a manager there. And, you know, I know the work that Starbucks does, you know, in the community, you know, but based on my profession and working in the community, helping people find employment, you know, they have a lot of incentives for people. And I believe, I can't confirm this, but, you know, at one time they were invested in the prison industrial complex with some of the things that are made in prison. And I think they divested from that, but I can't confirm that. I can't confirm that for the record. I can't confirm it, but I believe so. But I'll say this much, you know, that's one bad apple. You know, Starbucks got 1 million employees inside there. There's probably racists there working it right now. You have a whole bunch of people working at Starbucks, so you can't condemn the entire corporation if they don't have a stance and a reputation for racism like that. And there's organizations and companies that have a stance like that. They take, you know, they don't care. You know, Denny's is notorious, you know, for racist acts and having people that discriminate against the people that come through the door, employees that discriminate against people that come through the door, and they don't do anything about it. You know, I say Starbucks makes an effort. They shut down the place to do training, and, you know, they decided to go and meet with the people because their brand is at stake, you know, and they don't want to be known by as a people who, a corporation that incidents like this happen and they sit idly by and don't take any action. So I commend them for being able to take action, because a lot of organizations won't do anything. You know what I mean? So, and they, you know, just was told that they committed money to the young men, you know, because these guys were entrepreneurs. They weren't, you know, they were educated dudes from college, from what I understood. They knew each other for years, and they had to make a business deal or some type of real estate transaction. So, I think they're doing the right thing, you know, and you can't stop the racist American machine. You know, America has invested centuries into racist thinking, so you're not going to get people to automatically stop thinking in that manner. You know what I mean? And even, you know, it was the whites that got upset about the situation. Right. It was white people in there that was like, yo, why are they being arrested? You know, and I guess the black police chief felt that his hands were tied. They were called for trespassing. They just had to do the due diligence of arresting them and letting them go after. But I still say that, you know, with everything that happens in this country, you know, people are not going to change their way of thinking, you know, overnight. Some people are not going to change their way of thinking at all. And us being in America, in this country, we have to clearly understand that. So, build a franchise, build businesses, you know. Not to say not to support Starbucks, but these are things that just have to happen in general. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of whether Starbucks exists or not, whether there's a Facebook, whatever, we still have to have our own regardless. You know what I mean? But for the record, you know, I can't blame the brand for the mistake of the person that's in there, because I know that's not something that they teach. You know, they don't. That's not part of the training in Starbucks. Right. You know.
All right. So, Bill Cosby.
Yes, sir.
Combustible Huxtable.
All right.
Dr. Huxtable.
Dr. Huxtable. Heathcliff.
a lot of us that grew up with our fathers grew up watching Bill Cosby as America's dad, black father.
Right.
I mean, I think before that it was like Good Times, like James Evans, but that was a little bit before our time. But that was Good Times was like in the 70s. We saw the reruns.
Right.
But Bill Cosby, Felicia Rashad, they were like America's Family, and they were black.
Right.
One was a doctor.
Right.
The father was a doctor. The mother was a lawyer. He was trying to put out this image of black people that we weren't thugs and we weren't thieves and robbers.
Right.
But all these allegations came up against Bill Cosby, and my thing is that where there's smoke, there's fire.
Correct.
Right. And he admitted that he bought Quaaludes and gave it to women and so forth and so on. So with him being found guilty of aggravated indecent assault, what is your opinion? Are you one of the people that look at it as far as, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy because they try to stop him from getting in D.C., or, they always do this to black people? What's your stance on this whole Bill Cosby thing?
Well, it's true. They always do this to black people. That's not untrue. They always going to take a stance, but the thing is, he left himself open, and that's the sad thing. When you're at a certain level and you having a certain impact, you have to have a certain discipline, and Bill wasn't practicing that discipline. You have to have, and it's not that you got to have a squeaky clean record. Like Martin Luther King, he practiced infidelity. You know what I mean? White found out about it, actually. The FBI tried to frame him. I even believe they were actually sending white women to him, but it didn't destroy his legacy, right? What he was as a person, his genuine interest in making sure that his people were rising above the oppression that they were experiencing. It didn't stop that. It didn't stop. And those that know King's true story, know that he really died for the cause. He died. He gave his life for this cause. And that's what America won't tell you. So I know that we're all human, and it's a struggle, but. I think the issue with Bill is, number one, you have to surround yourself with certain people. You have to surround yourself with people that have your best interests in mind for your moral image, for your person. So I don't know if Bill Cosby is a spiritual person, but, sometimes you have these practices and you're dealing with people. And, I was told, and this was something that I was told by a colleague of mine. She told me, never be in a closed room with a girl. She said, never be in a closed room with them because, especially as a black person. And she was white. She said, because whatever story somebody decides to tell about you is going to be your word against theirs. You know what I mean? And who are they going to believe? Yeah, so he didn't protect himself. He exposed himself. That's why it's important to, you got to have a moral compass. And I think he had a strong legacy. He was, very vocal. But then remember also there was a time when he was very critical of black people as well. So he was going through that whole stage where, he was condemning instead of mentoring and guiding, right? So we have to be careful. We have to definitely be careful. I still think that the impact that he had concerning this show is something that shouldn't be forgotten, something that, his impact concerning stuff like Fat Albert and, and his education shouldn't be forgotten, right? But he has to pay for what he did. He has to pay for, the long-standing issues that he just let go on, and it's also... part of the problem is not just the fact that you do something, but there's people that are around you that see it and don't check you on it. You know what I mean? And, sometimes you got to be in a position where, you're humble enough to be checked on certain things. And like was said, you know, if you're too powerful, sometimes you just can't hear it, you know, because you think that you just have the power to do what you want to do. You know what I mean? And it wasn't cool. You know, it wasn't cool. Yeah, that needed to be something that people clearly needed to understand, that he was too big of a figure to destroy his legacy by doing something petty things like that, you know, and you know he hurt people, you know, and you do also got to understand that there are people out there ready to do things like this to you. You know what I mean? Right. There's people that are out there that are ready to put themselves in situations to cry rape, and you can't fall into traps. You know, yeah, they put him in a situation. You know, and you know, I feel sorry for those people who didn't get their time in court, that were probably victims, that had to suffer in silence or whatever the case may be, that were actually victimized. Not the people, you know, because obviously there's always people who are actually victims, and there's people who are, you know, their victimization is staged. You know, they put themselves in a situation to be able to cry this, you know, and I'm not saying that, you know, that everybody is like that's dealing in the situation, but you know, obviously, all of those people that are crying it, they're not telling the truth. They can't validate their story. A lot of people that are talking can't even validate their story. Some people push back their story, stuff like that. But there are people that are out there, and there's people that are out there that you probably didn't hear about. You know, so those are the ones that are really suffering. You know, probably too ashamed to come up and talk about it. You know.